Welcome to Martini time, the happy time of the day. So, if you hear some background talking, it's because my wife and some friends are in the dining room, and after they got their library business done, they've been talking about God. And, a lot of people talk about God. And it's always confusing. It's always either you just can't figure it out, or you get into a belief war about you're right, I'm wrong, you're right, I'm right, you're wrong, yada, 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 back and forth. God creates more conflict and confusion than Trump. And so I've been talking about this and inquiring into this lately, looking into it from a different view. And God's a verb. That's the problem. You see, our culture, Western culture, European culture, has become a semantic language culture, and it's the laws of language, the Indo-European language, is subject, verb, object. Subject is a noun. It does something to another noun. Subject does something, verb, to an object. And that's the way reality is framed. I mean, that's the underlying, the pinning or the underlying fabric of the way we perceive reality. So everything's a thing. And everything does something to other objects, you see. And so then we want to talk about God, and we immediately put God into that framework. God's an object, subject. He does stuff to other objects. So that God's put into grammar. No wonder we can't understand it. No wonder we get confused. So what's the solution? Well, the ancient Jews had the solution. To them, God was the word. It's an action, you see. The Christianity, thanks to Greek logic and Greek reason, reframed God into a person, a thing. So actually we're now, so God's something. Where is he? Well, he's out there, he's in there, he's nowhere. So now, this, but where is this thing, you see? So we talk about God, but how do you talk about a verb? You see, how do we talk about a verb, you see? Well, a verb is action, but we only see it manifested in things. If there were no things, you could not see, there would be no verbs. So a verb is the action of things. So it's a function. It's an action, you see. And this is the way Buddhism looks at it. And this is the way Kashmir Shaivism of Hinduism looks at it. God is an action. So that changes everything now. And then Buddha says, well, everything is impermanent, which means everything is time. Well, time is an action. Right now, you're watching me, I'm an action. And the time, this is not time, you see. It's not like past and future. You're watching present moment time. You're watching the unfolding of now as time, you see. So how long have I been talking? I forgot to bring my little timer here, so I'll just have to guess. But then you can measure it, you see. Well, he began there, and he's been talking for 5-10 minutes, you see. So that's time, you see. But the actual talking is a verb. But as soon as we step outside of it and begin to put it into a conceptual framework, now we're looking at time. We can measure it. How long did you talk? How long are you going to talk? We get out the tape ruler, the time ruler, you see. You can measure time. But the actual unfolding of time, the real time, the unplugged time, the now time, cannot be measured. Because it's always time. You see the difference here? You see what happens? As soon as the intellect comes in and the perceiving mind, it splits into, it's like it splits into, right now, you and I, we're flowing on this river of now. We're flowing on this river of now. But then at the same time, you can abstract yourself from that and look at the time flowing by. It's like we can abstract ourselves from the river of now and stand on the bank and watch it go by, like you're watching a train go by. How long is a train going to go by? Well, we get out a clock. See, we get our clock here, and I can measure this thing. You see, so time is a tool, a measurement. It's a measurement that we use to make stuff. And so in that way, time was really invented so you could control reality, so you could predict the future. Predicting the future, controlling the future requires time. That's why primitive cultures don't have time, and they don't control and predict the future. They don't make stuff. I mean, make a bow and arrow or something. A boomerang, the Australian Aborigines, which is a magical creation. You can throw a boomerang, and it will go I don't know how many hundreds of yards, and if it doesn't hit the target, it'll come back and land at your feet like a dog. Anyway, so you get the sense of what we're talking about here. So where is God, you see? So if we look at God in terms of language, which we do because that's the way we think, and that's the way we conceptualize reality, and that's the way we communicate. We have to communicate through this conceptual language, subject, verb, and object. Some languages don't have nouns. They just are verbs, like the Navajo and the ancient Hebrew. Now, I'm not a scholar on that, but this is what I understand. So what we're looking at here is the difficulty of understanding who, what, and when God is, because we translate God into time, into things, into this flatland that we believe is reality. You see, so we really translate God into our conceptual reality, and then get all confused because we can't make him fit. See, very, like Facebook is full of this all day long. People arguing, commenting, being opinionated, having them, I know, and pointing to the Bible, read this passage, that explains everything, but then the one on the next page contradicts that one. You see? It's just it's just insane. It's just insane, you see. And so then the mystical traditions, Buddhism, Vedanta, Zen, Taoism, all these Kashmir Shaivism, all of these mystical traditions have a different view of time. So they don't even, they're just looking at the whole situation from a totally different viewpoint. And Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. What's the power of now? Power of now is the power of being timeless. Now is timeless. I'm still talking now, if you remember. You see, so if you get out and if you measure, to measure how long I've been talking, you would have to note the time when I started, and then you could measure it from then to right now. And as I keep talking, you can keep advancing the tape ruler, you see. But that has nothing to do with this talking right now. You're listening, I'm talking, in this eternal now. It's like a fountain, just bubbling up now. Now is like a fountain bubbling us up, you see. But then we take that water in mind. Mind takes time and stretches it out, gets a ruler and measures it. But that time doesn't exist. When I started talking doesn't exist, does it? When I end doesn't exist, does it? The only thing that exists is my talking right now. And this is a verb. You see, that's what Buddha means when impermanence. So this moment, my talking to you is impermanent. If it weren't, then I would be frozen, you see. Then it would be permanent. So we play with this all the time and stop the music, stop it, you see. Stop time, you see. But you can't do that with reality. So we have to understand God not in language, subject, verb, object, as a thing, doing something, two things, in time. That's all our creation. That's a mental construct, you see. But this is the irony of it. While we're constructing that, we're constructing it all out of now. We're constructing it out of the timeless now. See, so you've got this, this is right here. This horizontal line here is time. When I started talking a few minutes ago, up to right now, and when I'm going to stop in a few minutes. So that's this, you see. Then you can say he talked for 10 minutes or whatever. He should have talked longer. He talked too long. You see. But the vertical is the now. You see, the vertical is always now. Never stops. Even if the world disappeared, it would still be now. Even if the earth will blow up one day, dissolve into the sun will blow up, it'll still be now. The whole infinite cosmos is enfolded into now. So now is what's called, David Bohm, the quantum physicist, called now the implicate order. Yoga calls it the causal order. The causal order. The cause, the source. God, the source, is bubbling out of now, you see. So the whole implicate order, all that exists, all the potential of everything is enfolded in the implicate order. And then we, human beings, who are part of this implicate order, we have been evolved out of it. The implicate order evolved us to the point where we can be conscious of it. So the implicate order evolved us to the point where the implicate order is conscious of itself. God's conscious of himself. He says, aha, I know myself now, you see. So God knows himself through us. Isn't that interesting? So we think God is this thing, you see. No, God dwells within us as us, said Muktananda. God dwells within you as you. Which means this present, not you as a thing. That's where we get all school. Well, who am I? Well, I'm this little me. And then God dwells within me as some other me. Or something. I don't know, an idea. I don't know. We don't even know what that means. But God dwells within you as you, mean God dwells within you as this moment. Because you are this moment. I'm this moment. We're all this moment. That's it. We're this moment. We're this now. You're not separate from me, although I perceive you being separate from me. You perceive me, but that's semantic language. Oh, he's a noun. I'm a noun, and we're looking at each other. That's the verb, you see. So that language breaks us into things, and then we name the things, label them, put them in the dictionary. Now I know who you are. You're in the dictionary. You got a profile on Facebook. That's who you are. You see. So we just miss the whole point, you see. We miss the whole point because of our language. So God is a verb, which means God is now, because now is a verb. Now is not a noun. If it were a noun, it would be stuck. You see, if it's changing, it can't be a noun, it can't be a name. What is it? I don't know, it just changed. You see, so in order for something to be something, it has to stand still. It has to stay put in its definition, you see. But you can't put a river into a definition and make it stand still unless you freeze it. You see, but the river is flowing, a flowing now, you see. We only see the river as a horizontal thing, it's because we stand on the bank. But if we're in the river, flowing with it, you see, we are the river. You see. But the human consciousness has been able to divide itself into being now and also standing outside of now and looking at it. And Western culture has made the fatal mistake of making us believe that we are that abstraction standing on the riverbank looking at time. And the now that we are has been discounted because it doesn't fit on the noun map, you see. Unless nothing, in our culture, nothing exists unless it's a noun. You don't look up the dictionary and see verbs. You just see nouns, you see. Verbs don't exist in our semantic language, you see. In our semantic universe, you see. But verbs are action. Verbs are creativity. Verbs are doing, you see. That's all there is, basically. Verbs. A verb. Life is a verb. It's action. It's doing it. And that's what karma is called, action. Life is action, you see. But we perceive it as nouns. And that gets us all screwed up. So the whole point of awakening is to realize that you're a verb. That's it. That you're now, and that's it. This is it. You're it. This is it. You see? You can't be contained. Now that is very liberating, because now you can be who you are. You're liberated from nouns. You're liberated from definitions. You're liberated from judgment. Judgment is all about nouns. I judge you, a noun. No, I'm not a noun. I'm a different noun. Well, I judge you that noun. No, I'm a different noun. See, being a verb is liberating, because now you're flowing, you're moving. Nobody can hold you. Nobody can contain you. Nobody can catch you. Nobody can define you. You're liberated. But we're afraid of that, because then, who am I? Well, I don't know. You see, you can't answer the question, who am I, when you're a verb, because then you would have to be a noun. And you know you're not a noun, you're a verb. So you can't be defined, and you can't say who you are. And you don't know who you're going to be, because in the next moment you're going to be different than you are right now. I'm not the same person that started talking this. You think I am, but I'm not. And I'm not going to be this person when I end talking here. You see, you think I might be, but I'm not. I don't know who I'm going to. I could have a stroke in the next minute. Boom. A truck could run off the highway and run into the house. Boom. You see. The future is unknown. The past is dead. All that exists is now. All that exists. And that's where we find God. Right there. Thank you.